welcome to our part 2 of this podcast. Mathew is still here.
Yes, hello.
COVID-19 happened, and I know that you were going to America.
Yes.
But COVID-19 happened.
Yes.
So what you were going to the state, and I just want to ask, why did you decide to go to America before all of this madness happened?
Well, I had never really thought about going overseas to work. I'm a Perth boy. I always wanted to work in Perth, have a nice, comfortable life. But one of our seniors, one of the seniors a year above me from vet school, she had gone to America, and she extended an offer down to our class and said, I'm working in this company in America. It's really good. I get a bonus for introducing any new vets, so that's why I'm introducing. And she was like, talking about how work was like over there, and it really attracted me.
What really attracted you?
Multiple things. The one thing that most people are probably going to talk about is you definitely get paid much better in America as a vet compared to how much you're getting paid in Australia. So that's part of it for sure. I'm not going to deny it. But also for me, it's a little bit exciting, going out to live in a city, in a completely different city, in a different country, getting a little bit of your independence, trying new things out. And so normally that, I wouldn't have even thought about it, but the offer came down when I was actually doing a surgery trip, a spay trip in Thailand.
Oh.
I was like 3 or 4 days into this surgery trip, and
what is a surgery trip?
Yes.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so a spay trip is when you go out into whatever community or wherever place that often it's volunteer work, and you're helping de-sex all the stray dogs or any owner's dogs who wants to be de-sexed free of charge. And so that has a few benefits. One, if you're de-sexing all the strays, you prevent them from breeding more and creating more stray dogs, which is an issue, both for the animals and the human population. And a lot of the times, like the places that we go, it's not a common thing to have the animals de-sexed, and there's a lot of diseases or medical issues that you can get from not being de-sexed. And it's a really good way of helping out those communities, because they might not be able to support an entire litter of puppies, or they might have some medical issues that they want to get checked out, or they wouldn't have found if you weren't going to de-sex them. So those are some good reasons, and the main good reason for the surgery trips is that the vet students get to practice their surgery skills without the pressure of somebody paid for the surgery, for example. The students themselves are paying for this opportunity to. So that's what surgery trips are. There are in Australia anyway. There's a lot of trips that you can do into the outback, into the Aboriginal communities, to do some de-sexing. Anywhere in the countryside as well. There's also trips. You can go to India to do spay trips, Thailand, which is the one I went. And if there are vet students listening to this, I really, really recommend going on a spay or surgery trip, because you don't get that much surgery experience in vet school, just because there's not enough cases to go around, or animals to go around. And you end up probably only maybe doing like 2 spays.
Oh.
Once you come out of...
I would have imagined.
Yeah, for Murdoch anyway.
Okay.
And often they're like, 6 months apart or 7 months apart from doing the first one and the second one. And a surgery is a skill that needs to be developed and practiced. And, 2 is not really enough. So Spay trips are one really good for you to practice your surgery skills and have someone mentor you, have someone shadow you if you do a mistake. Fine. There's a vet right behind you who knows what to do. So having that experience, and secondly, it's an excuse to go holiday. Like Thailand was very, very nice, and I heard that the India trips are really nice as well. So yeah. Anyway, back on track. So I got this offer going to America. Well, the offer was there going to America when I was Thailand, and I was like, I'm actually doing alright in Thailand, and they don't even speak English. Like, I was still able to get around, I was still able to interact with people, and, I tried to learn the Thai language, and it was doable, like, it's still a very scary thing going to a completely new country, as you probably know. And, I mean, going to America, like, I'll still be speaking English, so that's not going to be an issue, like, language is an issue, which is a huge plus. And yeah, so I was like,
let's
just go for it. Yeah, just go for it. So I had a few phone interviews, and yeah, it's a very long drawn out process, but I would have liked to say by this time that it was worth it, but I haven't gone, so yeah, bit of a risk take for me.
Yeah. Well, I know that you studied Navle and you've taken the exam.
Yes.
And so do you want to give a brief intro of what Navle is and how did you prepare for it for all the students that might want to potentially go to America and pursue that?
Yeah, so Navle, for those who don't know, stands for, I hope I get this right, North American Veterinary Licensing Exam. So NAVLE.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult exam. It's an exam that you must take if you want to practice in America. You can think of it as the national vet exam. And for me, it was probably one of the hardest exams that I've taken. Because not from, like, the content is definitely, difficulty wise is definitely up there, but it's the format of the exam. So it's completely multi-choice, thankfully. But it's a 6-hour exam. So it's broken up into 1-hour blocks, and you have, I think you're allocated something like half an hour of break time that you can use as much as you like in between each block. And you do it all in one day at this exam center that they allocate you to. And it's a long haul, it's a marathon. Like, normally in vet school, your 3-hour exams are hard enough already as it is. Or
6 hours.
Yeah, 6 hours stuck, and it's a computer exam as well, so you're just staring at a screen for 6 hours. Like, I mean, normally watching a show, that's fine, but when you're trying to actually answer an exam and read, it's really difficult. And each 1-hour block, there are 60 questions. So you need to answer every question one a minute. And they vary across the topics and stuff. They'll cover all your small animal and large animal stuff and some exotic stuff, even camels and stuff. And some of them range from very simple questions like, what does this antibiotic do? Like, what bacteria does it cover? It's like, okay, you can just say, gram-positive anaerobic, for example. So you have some pretty straight up stuff like that. But also some of them can get really complicated. Like, they'll give you like an entire case, like full history, full, all the tests that had been done, and then they ask you, so, what is I remember this very specifically because I struggled with it. It was, what is the side effect of the drug that you're supposed to use for this disease? Now, if you break that down, this becomes like 4 questions in one.
So you have to figure out what medicine you need to use.
Yeah, so if you backtrack, you want to know what the side effect of a drug is.
Yeah.
So you need to know one, what the side effect is.
Yep.
2, you need to know what drug to use. 3, you don't need to know what the disease is.
Oh, they don't tell you?
No, you have to work it out from the case.
Okay.
So, when you're given 1 minute to do that, it can be pretty stressful. But I guess it balances out because you have some easier questions and you spend only 10 seconds on. But that's the kind of those are the most difficult questions you get, and they can get really specific. And I remember really struggling with a lot of the questions. So yeah, that and especially as we're in Australia, so there's a lot of diseases or parasites and bacteria. That's different to America.
Yeah.
I was going to give an example of Ehrlichia. We didn't have Ehrlichia in Australia until like 2 weeks ago, which we found. There was now is officially Ehrlichia found in dogs up in the Kimberley region of Western Australia. So back when I was studying, Ehrlichia was a disease we didn't find in Australia much, so we didn't learn about it much in vet school. But in the Navle, they're going to ask you that. So
how do you prepare for things like that? Is there like a syllabus?
Yeah, so there's a very well-known study guide or program course, whatever you want to call it, called Vet Prep. Anyone who's taking the Navle will have pretty much paid for and used the study guide. It's a very well-established study guide. It gives you like a whole range of, I think there's like 5,000 questions that you can do. And I think there's like a money back guarantee of if you complete 80% of the questions and if you still don't pass, then they'll pay for your next Navle exam.
Wow.
But it's a lot of questions. It's a lot of questions. And so I think I managed to finish around, I didn't get up to 80%. I think I did around 70% of them.
That's still really impressive.
5,000
questions.
Yeah, I did around 3,500. And that was the space of 1.5 months, I think. So my life was pretty much dedicated to studying. It's really good actually. You can there's an app on the phone, and you can just whip out the app, and then you can just instantly, because it's all multi-choice, right?
Yeah.
So you can just whip out your phone. You can just answer questions, and I was doing that in between consultations. At my pracs. So every time I go into consult, help out the vet, do all the stuff. And then in between, as soon as the client leaves, I whip out my phone to do a few questions. So you'd be able to kind of like slowly hack out the 5,000
That's
number.
Good, yeah.
But unfortunately, vet prep does, like, I wouldn't have passed the Navle without vet prep. But vet prep, of course, it's not going to give you the questions to the Navle. It gets close, but it's not 100% there. I think the vet prep questions are just a little bit easier than Navle. So I'd say to those taking the Navle, yes, definitely pay for vet prep. It's expensive. Navle is expensive. I think the whole ordeal cost me like $2,000 Aussie dollars. Yeah, it's not fun. But hopefully you make it all back in your salary as an American vet. And yeah, it's definitely worth the vet prep. Paying for it is definitely worth it. I don't think anyone would pass without it unless you're an amazing student who does all their own study. But yeah, I definitely recommend doing that.
So you've only used vet prep in order to prepare for Navle?
Mostly vet prep. I'd say around 80% of it was vet prep, and then the other 20% would be using, all the content that I used, that I learnt from in uni, all my notes, and also a lot of online research as well. Just go on Google Scholar, read up journal articles. You'll be reading a lot of journal articles in your vet school career. And yeah, just trying to get as up to date as you can, because the Navle changes every year according to updated information. I'm pretty sure.
That's pretty intense.
It's good because it makes sure that
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they make sure that you know the most recent stuff. So yeah, I'd still say vet prep was I'd say 80% of my study. Yeah, and I think everyone else, all my classmates that I did Navle with also would do also say vet prep was most of their study for the Navle.
So this was during 5th year or after 5th year? Right after.
That's a good question. So, people take it different times. The Navle, they only have 2 time periods where you're allowed to take it. It's always, you have, exam period in April, and then also an exam period in November/December. And so you get 2 times a year where you can take it. And so it's very much recommended that you do it after, well, for us, our 4th year, at the end of your theory year, what you would call it. At least after that, because if you do it before that, you wouldn't have learned everything. I did it at the end, in the November period, at the end of my degree. So I did Navle after all my rotations, and I was just finishing up all my clinical experience. So I had gone through an entire course. I pretty much had graduated, and then I did it. And some of my friends did it in the April period.
So do you think you're more prepared for the November one?
Yes.
Compared to your friends that did it in April?
Yeah, I think for sure going through rotations definitely helps with preparing for the Navle, because you've actually gone through rotations and done a lot of the stuff. But you're also really cramped for time, because end of your year also tends to be when all your exams are, your normal exams are. You're probably trying to bust out all your clinical experience that you hadn't done yet.
That's true,
So if you do it in April, you won't have that kind of time constraint, but you wouldn't have had the benefit of going through rotations first. So a little bit of planning. Yeah, you need to plan out when you want to take the Navle. So for us as DVMs, we have to do a research project or a thesis. And a lot of that is due at the end of the year. And because I hadn't decided to go to America until July, which I already missed the April period, so I hadn't done a lot of my research project yet because I didn't expect to do that Navle. So that was really tough, but I still managed.
So you have to do Navle, like manage Navle while managing your research. And
your rotations and your exams and and that stuff, but it's doable. It's like I'm making out Navle to be a very difficult thing. It is difficult, but I think the pass rate is like 95%.
Oh,
yeah, okay. Because the people who you're paying 1.5 grand for this exam, everyone who takes it, then gonna not try and pay another 1.5 grand for a second chance, so everyone tends to be pretty well prepared, and it's definitely doable, but you just have to prepare for it very thoroughly. So I would, in my experience, I think you should probably do it in April, so you'll have a easier time in your normal vet school life, instead of having to worry about balancing 5 things at once at the end of the year. Just study really hard at the start of the year. Yeah. Non-stop
studying.
Yeah.
So what's your plan now? Because COVID-19 happened. You can't really travel over there right now.
Yeah. So I should explain my situation in case people in 5 years in the future listening to this and are not very familiar with the COVID situation. In Australia, in Western Australia anyway, we have a hard border closure, so pretty much nobody is allowed in Very few people are allowed out of our state's borders, which obviously makes traveling to America very difficult. We're very lucky to have pretty much almost stopped COVID completely in our little bubble here. But in America, they're really not doing that great in terms of managing the COVID stuff. So they still have I think I checked yesterday, still have like 33,000 new cases every 24 hours, which is just crazy just thinking about it. I really feel sorry for those guys over there. So that too is affecting my entry into America. So as a result, I've had to hold off on my plans to work in America. Now I am job hunting here in Perth, because I can't go to Eastern States or whatever because no, you're not allowed to travel around. So I've had to try and look for jobs here, which is a little bit difficult at this time of the year.
Especially everyone's struggling at the moment. The economy
has definitely been affected. And the new graduate jobs tend to pop up at the end of the year. So we're in almost July now. So there's not that many new graduate jobs open yet. So I'm still searching I'd like to be a small lease GP vet. So still searching for a job that fits our requirement without me having to drive to some random town 5 hours away. So I've actually hopefully got something lined up in an emergency clinic, just doing some casual shifts just so I can have my foot in something vet related. And because it's been so long since I've done anything vet related, I don't want to lose the skills. So here's to hoping that works out, and then hopefully I can find a GP job, a normal GP job, without having to do crazy hours in emergency. So that's my current plan for now, but we'll just have to see because things change quite a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of students are worried about their job opportunities after they graduate as well because of how they were affected this year. Yeah.
I think they should be fine, honestly, because now that I've been job hunting and I've really had to ask everyone about how they're going. Definitely at the start of the whole COVID issue, a lot of clinics that were getting quieter because nobody wanted to come in for anything that wasn't urgent, like if you didn't have to come into contact with someone else, you would try not to. So all your vaccinations, all your dental cleaning, and all your regular checkups, those are all just pretty much cancelled or postponed. And unfortunately, that's a bread and butter of a lot of vet clinics' business. But as a result of the COVID pandemic, everyone's been adopting animals and stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's actually been a huge adoption drive. Because people are home, so okay, we have time to actually train a dog now. And so business has actually been pretty good for a good amount of clinics, I believe, because of these new adoptions. And we're very lucky in Perth or West Australia that we're easing, as of tomorrow, we'll be pretty much easing all our restrictions apart from the state border closure. So things will pretty much go back to normal
pretty soon.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure by the end of this year, by the time that the current DVM5 students graduate, I think everything will be pretty okay. People who are trying to go overseas, hopefully the state closure has finished by then, or trying to go overseas. But I think the students are going back on rotation soon, so at least you'll be able to get some of the experience. So I wouldn't worry too much. As I said before, you're never going to be 100% prepared anyway.
Yeah.
And a lot of your employers will be very, they'll understand that what happened. You've missed a few of your rotations, but they were going to have to train you up anyway. And there were probably a lot of things that you wouldn't have known anyway.
Yeah.
And they're more than happy to train you up. And that's the thing. You can always be trained in certain skills. It's all your other skills, like, talking to people, working in a team. Those are the things that are probably harder to train. And so those are the more the things that employers are looking at. How you bond with the team. And so in the meantime, if you can't get your practical experience, you can always just, hang out with your friends and improve your social skills or communication skills. And yeah, I cannot stress that enough. You can always be trained up in your technical skills, but your communication skills is something that needs to be developed over a long time. And so really, really focus on those.
That is definitely something I really struggle with.
You just got to talk a lot. You just got to talk a lot like me. And then you eventually get there. So. Yeah.
Well, Mathew, thank you for being our first guest on
Thank you.
It's
an honor. It's a pleasure to be on the very first episode. So for anyone listening to this, feel free to, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. My name's Mathew Chan, so you can just pop me a message on Facebook if you want anything else, want to know anything else, and I'm more than happy to answer you, because I'm currently unemployed, so I've got lots of time. So please give me things to do.
Thank you.
See ya.